Good morning, guys. Earlier this year, we talked about doing a small business initiative, sponsoring one small business person or company 4 times this year. And I have my good friend, 4-time author, TEDx speaker, and great person overall, Lily Hansen, with us here. Lily, if you can, tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got to Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and thank you so much for having me on as your first guest. So I grew up in Chicago, in the city, and I got started writing pretty young at age 19. And at 25, I heard about Music City. That was when, the big New York Times article came out and said that Nashville was really a place where things were booming. So I decided to move here, and I started my first book, Word of Mouth, Nashville Conversations, because quite honestly, I wanted to get to know people in my new hometown. And I knew nothing about Nashville, so I figured what better way to learn the city than through the stories of its people.
Yeah, I think one of the things that drew me to you, your presence on LinkedIn, your presence on social media, I felt like I knew you before I actually knew you. And by the time we met at House of Cards, when you were working there, when I was there with Ansley, I was like, Ansley, that's Lily Hansen. Like, I think I know her, but I don't know her. Like, let's go talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's funny, we kind of cultivated that relationship, meeting for coffee, buying your books. Um, and really kind of segueing into the book section, what's that one thing that pushes you to get up each morning and think about writing books and just pushes you in general?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably just what you said. I mean, we met, at House of Cards where I was working because I was doing a TED Talk in, late 2019, and I wanted to work somewhere that was a performance space where I could, perform every night. So by the time I got up in front of 1,000 people, I wasn't nervous.
Wow.
And I think for me, whether it was my 14 years working in the service industry or it's my book series or a TEDx talk, I just love meeting interesting people. And, it was funny. I was out last night actually celebrating my birthdays, and a guy in the bar said, "Is that Lily Hansen? She wrote my bio. I have never met her." I'm like, that's why I do what I do. I love that. I just
Yeah.
love learning about all walks of life, whether it's, a financier or a real estate agent like yourself.
Well, thank you. Yeah, when you're thinking on these books, what's step one in the process? How does all that start to come together?
Yeah, I mean, as I am currently thinking about a new project right now, as I mentioned to you, I was in Charleston over the weekend and thought, God, this would be such a great, city to do a new book in. I guess really for me, it's just, am I interested in this place, or this company? If it's a book like I did for HCA, I wrote and published their 50th anniversary book a couple years ago. So is this something that I really want to do a deep dive into, through the stories of its people? And I think if it really captures me and I feel like I can do my due diligence and also, do it justice, then that's really enough of a motivation for me. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel very fortunate that even with my corporate projects, I love learning about different industries, whether it's healthcare or right now doing my project with Alliance Bernstein.
Yeah. Yeah, your word of mouth Nashville conversations. It was so fun to meet you, buy a couple hundred copies, and anyone watching this should go out and do the same thing. But how did that start? What drew you to Nashville and the people here and kind of was the impetus for that book?
Yeah, I mean, again, when I moved here, it's interesting saying this because I think about how many people I know now. It's like kind of amazing. It's a testament to how welcoming Nashville is as a community. But I really just wanted to make friends, and I wanted to, again, figure out what was happening. And I figured, well, what better way to do that than through asking people who are passionate about what they do, how they got into their current profession and any lessons they learned along the way. And I would say as far as being attracted to Nashville, I mean, I just think it's a city that's filled with really creative, motivated, ambitious, but also very kind people. I think coming from Chicago, which is a city that's obviously very dear to my heart, but it's naturally a little more cutthroat because it's, a bit, it's huge, exactly. I think the doors just open up a lot faster here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. In reading that book, I think all the interviews were fantastic, but two really stuck out. The Khalil Arnold one, number one, because I go to Arnold's almost weekly, he doesn't know me, but I feel like I know him. He's just so personable. And particularly the Burt Matthews one, just being in real estate, selling a lot of condos in the urban core. I just said, wow, this is a guy I'd like to get to know.
Oh yeah, and both great guys and super open about the lessons they've learned from their own careers.
Yeah.
And that was another thing I really enjoyed about talking to people in Nashville is everyone here was very open about the triumphs they've had, but also the mistakes they have made. And I think that was always the impetus behind my books as well, was to not just talk about the good sides of a career, but also the moments where maybe you messed up.
Yeah.
I think that's reality.
Yeah, we live in a social media world where it looks like all everybody does is win, 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 win. There's no losses, but
Which drives me crazy.
Yeah, nothing could be further from the truth. It's interesting. On the car ride out here, we talked about some of the highs and the lows and what's worked for you, what's worked for me. And even though we're in different industries, we have a lot in common. We've both been doing it 14 years, and that's huge. Really liked your TEDx talk. Talking with strangers is my self-care. Talk about that for a minute, how it came together, how you got invited. Anxious to hear.
Yeah, I mean, the TEDx talk was amazing. I had pitched myself to them 3 years prior, and to be honest with you, I was very happy that it didn't happen then. I don't think I was quite ready, or I don't think I had learned the lessons I needed to learn in order to provide the kind of talk I did. So it was nice when they came to me, because it's always nice to be asked. And, I didn't really know what I wanted to achieve with the talk. I think a lot of people go into a TED Talk a fan, which I really wasn't. And then two, they have this agenda. And I had a really great coach, and basically just said, hey, this is what I've done. I've done well over 1,000 interviews. I have a great passion for talking to people, but also I feel like that's what's missing in today's world, is just that desire to go out every day and just learn from the people around you. And so that's really what I hope I accomplished with the talk. I mean, I think it was a talk about kindness and empathy and the power of listening, but just I'm a very open person, and I feel like I walk into life every day just excited to meet new people, and I hope that it motivates other people to do the same. And I think it has.
Yeah, I've always felt the same way. If I had one word to describe you, authentic. You're authentic. I think what you see is what you get, and not many people in our culture today are that way. It's interesting you talk about meeting strangers. One of my big goals in recent years has been 50 meetups per year. 50 meetups with 50 people I've never met. And the whole goal there was to just get to know people across Middle Tennessee. I'm not from here like you, but I've been here 9 years, and it's funny how it took time to feel local. I think the first 4, 5, 6 years, I still felt like an outsider, even though I was here longer than a lot of people I was meeting. So that was interesting. So where does all this lead for you? You've written 4 books now. You've done the TEDx talk. What's next?
Yeah, I mean, I love doing public speaking, and, I also do acting for fun as well. And so I have really been thinking recently about the last year, the pandemic, and, every day you hear stories on the news about how communication has, been lacking during the last year, and people are nervous about going back out into the world after perhaps not having had many face-to-face conversations like we're having now. So I keep thinking maybe there will be an opportunity to either write a book about how to have a conversation and different tactics to use to connect with people in person, or a series of workshops, because I really would like to help people come over this hump and get through the transition process of maybe being more isolated and going back out into the world and looking forward to it rather than dreading it.
Yes, so many of us have lived in isolation for the last year, and to me that's just not good for the soul, for the human spirit. We're meant to be together. And even on Zoom calls, I've done so many Zoom calls with new clients and had people buy properties sight unseen, and it's like, that's all good and well, and I'm appreciative, but there's nothing better than just sitting down and having conversation, and it's just been fantastic. So, well, Lily, I want to thank you for coming out today, for taking the time to talk to us. You are far and away an amazing person. We're glad to call you a friend, and looking forward to seeing what comes next for you.
Thank you, Brad. This was awesome. I'm honored.
And wrapping up, guys, just want to say thank you for putting all this together. And be sure to stay in touch and stay tuned to more upcoming content like this on our real estate channel. Thank you very much.